Previously on Redbeard's Garage. On the last episode, we pulled the 212cc engine out of the Mega Moto chassis, and we started cutting some stuff out to make room for our 420cc big block. We had to remount the jack shaft in a different location and make a new engine mount to squeeze this hoss in this hog. Now we'll continue on with finishing up a few things and getting the engine ready so we can ride this bike and see what kind of power that big block makes. I'm going to pull the head off of our 420cc Duramax and put it on a pre-built bottom end that is a 420cc Predator, and it has a 308 cam and a billet rod. This is going to give us some great performance, so we just got to dress it out so we can slap it on the mini bike. So now that we got the 420cc engines shoved in there, we actually made a big mistake, and so we had to use this head off of the Duramax 420 because it had this angled exhaust port, and I had already built the exhaust. So I wanted to go ahead and throw a built bottom in, which I have several blocks built ready to go on the shelf with no head on them. They're just a bottom end with a billet rod and a 308 cam. So I grabbed this one off the shelf, and it was a 440cc. Only problem was I didn't build this bike for a 440. So a 440 has a longer bolt pattern. It's no wider, but it's about ½ inch to an inch longer. So after I fully dressed out that block, I had to pull everything off of it and put it on this Harbor Freight 420 that I had sitting on the shelf built. So we have a 308 cam, billet rod, billet flywheel. We still have our electric start. I went ahead and put one of our key switches that we sell on our website on here, just bolted it. So now we have electric start all hooked up. So we got to pull this rear pulley off because it is inbound, but it has a reverse wound spring. Reverse wound spring means it should be pointing out. So we have to pull this off, and we got to install the comet 203-130A in that pulley to make it work properly. Right now, if we was to ride it, it wouldn't hardly do anything. We're also going to stick this one washer behind this pulley to align it a little bit better. So let's get that done real quick, and then we should be able to do a test ride. So I don't know if you could hear it in the GoPro, but this thing has a nasty knock and it sounds like it's in the block. I built this engine years ago. I've literally had two Predator bottom ends built and two Duromax 440s built, sitting on the shelf with no heads because I need to send off the heads to get milled and ported because I hate porting heads, they take forever. I'm wondering if the knock noise is the little windage tray, and sometimes the rod bolt will come around and tap it. I always take those out, but I could have forgot it. I'm gonna pull the side cover off because we also need to adjust that rear pulley a little bit more and put some more spring tension on it because it's kicking into the high gear ratio way too early. The bike feels extremely lazy. Like, the thing will raise up with you like crazy out of the hole, but other than that, my Tillotson, or my 224 on my Trailmaster would stomp this bike right now. So it feels real lazy with this pulley setup. So we're gonna adjust that. So I think I'm gonna drain the oil out and then lean the bike on its side, because I'm not pulling that whole engine off this, and just pull the side cover with it still on the bike and see what we can see if we can find any damage. So you ever clutch drop these things where you speed it up all the way and then slam it on the bolt? Works every time. So that's that break-in oil. I'm also looking at the oil to see if there's a bunch of trash in it. It does look like there's a little bit of flake in there, so I'm wondering if what I was thinking was correct. And it really didn't get fully broken in, to be honest, so this is kind of a waste of oil. So balance shaft is still in there. We could be making contact with that. Normally I'll take those out. So now it's just look at everything. I did check the end play when I did this. We can remove the balance shaft, but you're really not helping anything unless you balance the engine. I wish I didn't have a spark plug in this puppy. Yep. Okay. So I did grind the balance shaft some to clearance for the dipper. So there's several problems I see that could be the case. Okay. I think I found out my problem. So if we look down in here, look at how close that rod bolt is to that windage tray. I mean, it's not touching, but let me tell you, it's a fuzz from touching. So I'm gonna have to, sometimes you can grab that with a set of pliers and snap it off. That's not the recommended way. I'm not telling you guys to do that. I'm also going to make sure that that long oil sensor bolt in the back there isn't too long and making contact with anything. I don't think it is. And I'm just going to make sure the balance shaft is not making contact. One of those three things is happening. Either the dipper is smacking the balance shaft. I don't think that's the problem because I pre-grounded it. I do think that, I mean, with any kind of RPMs, that's going to hit. You know, with any kind of flexing in this stuff, that's going to make contact. So always check that windage tray, and then I'll make sure to double check on that. But our gasket's still good. We can reuse our side gasket. I'll probably just pour the oil in like this because that back oil fill can be a son of a gun to get to. But yeah, let me get this figured out. So actually down in the bottom of the block was evidence that this was the culprit. The culprit? Culprit. So there was a little chunk that was getting grinded out. So I snapped that son of a gun off. Not the cleanest and best way, and it's clearing. I know the camera angle doesn't look like it is. But I just grabbed a set of vice grips and I took a big grab on that and snapped her right off. So ghetto, yes. Will it work? For sure. So now we can pour a little over a quart in this puppy and put the side cover back on. I've looked at everything else. It doesn't look like anything else was contacting anything. See, there's a little piece of aluminum right there. So we'll make sure nothing is left in there. We'll use a syringe and get the rest of that oil out because there's some junk in it. Pour some fresh in and seal her back up. Okay, see if she knocks. All right, so in that last clip, we rode around the yard and it still didn't feel like it had the power that it should. I mean, we've had big blocks on mini bikes before and it's torquey out of the hole, but it isn't performing in the top end. And they do have a lot of valve train noise. The GoPro picks it up really well, especially with a good exhaust like this has on it. It's not that loud. This bike is actually pretty quiet. An RLV muffler would be way louder than what this is. But I was like, it still don't feel like it should. So off camera, I pulled the bike in. And when I build these, I use assembly lube on everything, especially the tappets and the tappet or lifters, whatever you want to call them. It's the part that the cam actually touches and the push rod set in the lifters or the tappets and push up to the valve train. So I kind of glue those in with assembly lube, where this engine had set for probably a year and a half on the shelf. I think that assembly lube had thickened even more, and it was holding the lifter up. So when I adjusted the valves on the workbench, I didn't actually adjust them because they was stuck up. They wasn't moving their full travel because they was really sticky. So once I rode the bike and got some heat in it, it loosened them up. When I came in here, there was like, I kid you not, a 1/4 inch of gap in my valve lash. I'm not even exaggerating. I don't see how the bike started. It blows my mind that it even ran. So I adjusted the valves and the thing's meaner than a son of a gun now. So it did have the rod connecting, or the rod bolt was hitting the block right there. So that fixed our problem with the loud knocking noise. I know you still hear ticking, but that's just a valve train sound on a big block. And now with the valves adjusted, it's even better. So we're going to take it out to the school and let Lonnie ride this thing, because I think he's going to be blown away with how much torque. This thing's dangerous out of the hole. It wants to raise straight up with you. So we need to learn how to ride some wheelies, and this would be the ultimate wheelie bike. So let's go to the primary school and do some hits on this thing and see what she's got.
Let her warm up a bit. It pulled up on me. Holy smoke. This thing's a death trap. She's torquier than mother, ain't she? Oh god. That was 45. I'm curious what that thing will do.
Will it not top out right here?
No, we said it still had more in it right there. The CVT still needs, it has more in it, but the CVT is just limiting because it's kicking up in that second gearing ratio. We need to tighten up the rear pulley a little bit more. I've already did it once. It always worries me when Lonnie goes outside, you know, like, because you never can tell what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But that bike is a hoss. It's just a lounging bike.
Let's see if I can zoom in enough.
But and that's it.
It gets there quick. Yeah, that was it.
Even adjusted the gearing, it would be, I think gearing's fine because it already pops up like crazy. But so let's go climb the hill and see how good it. I mean, just lean over that mug. So did it feel like the CVT was holding it back?
No, I mean it was
just felt like you was out of RPMs. And
yeah.
stuff. Which that stock head and a factory style carb just jetted up. If we put a Mikuni, but the Mikuni would get in your leg, it would be too tall. So I like that setup. It's simple, it starts good. It's just, yeah, it don't need any like low end. So you can turn that button back on and electric start it. That's a pretty dang steep hill. I mean, look at that. You could hear the CVT kicking the next gear ratio. That's the only thing that really is holding the bike back from any kind of like extra performance. What do you think of the hog?
He's mean.
It's very comfortable though. That's the headlight. I haven't hooked it up yet. Yeah, great.
Yeah, you hooked everything up.
Everything's wired up. The forks need stiffening, and then we're gonna get the rear swing arm kit from Go Power Sports. They got that bolt-on swing arm. Oh yeah, and I need to get the header ceramic coated and probably seal wrap just to keep all the heat from it. But it's very comfortable. It's just planted and freaking hog dogs. It's just
It's so torquey.
It's a cruising bike. It reminds me of a Harley because they're so heavy and they're so torquey. That's what this is, a Harley. But yeah, so we're gonna port the head on it, I do think, to let it rev a little further and stuff, let it flow. But other than that, I think it's do a few upgrades like forks and stuff, and it's done.
I don't think I've ridden a bike like this torquey that you built. Not
The
even the other
30, you think the 301 was?
Yeah, I like this. This thing, you gotta be conscious or it's gonna pull up on you.
he took off the first time. Wow! When it hit it, blurped the throttle again, lift right back. Wow! All right, we're done. So make sure to check out the links for all the parts on this bike in the video description. Thank you guys so much for watching. We love you and God bless.
Like it was nothing.